Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our newest addition to the team, a 2004 Volkswagen Jetta. And we're just going to show you what's up, talk about the plans for it a little bit, and go from there. Hope you enjoy. So this car we got cheap. It needed some work. When I went and picked it up, I had to throw a CV axle on it to even load it up on the trailer. So right off the bat, the passenger side, nope, there's not going to be clearance to see in there, but the passenger side CV axle, brand new. In the process, I had to unbolt the sway bar end, and that hasn't been bolted back up, so that's the one thing stopping us from taking it on test drive right now. Beyond that, honestly, it's a pretty clean car. You can obviously hear the exhaust is sounding off. It's been cut right before the cat, so I'm assuming not the previous owner, but the owner before that did that. I believe that means the cat's probably plugged up. So we'll probably straight pipe through the cat and just add some kind of aftermarket exhaust on it, or maybe we'll throw a cheap cat in there. I'll have to look at a local code for a car of this age and see what we're allowed to do with it. As for the inside of the car, we're showing 235,000 miles on it, almost 236,000 miles on it. So she's definitely got some age to her, and that's totally fine. It's a nice older car. The Jettas have a lot of little issues, but even with those issues, they tend to keep trucking pretty well. So, just looking around the interior here, the radio is detached. I know the previous owner said there's some wiring that was in the back seat. I believe it's in the garage now, that needs hooked in for this to function properly, I believe. I can always reach out to him and see. But we have leather seats all the way around that honestly aren't in that bad of condition, given that the car's from 2004. But they're leather, they're also heated, as you have the little dials you can spin to heat both sides. The headliner is definitely in need of some attention. Or actually, yeah, the headliner back there, and then also just the liner on the sunroof. Whoop, that probably just made it worse. Whoops. But the sunroof is a little powered sunroof. You spin this, it opens, your dome lights, all that stuff. But really inside, is that? Oh, I'm missing the latch on this piece. But overall inside of the car, it's not bad at all. I mean, your headliners, your radio, little latch here. And as far as I know, that's like the main things inside of the car. So we'll go ahead, we'll hop out, take a look under the hood, and I'll kind of tell you about some of the work the previous owner did and what work we're planning on doing to it. As we come under the hood, fairly common for what they look like. I mean, I know the previous owner was a friend of mine, and he just kind of needed it out of his way and needed a fair amount of repairs and little things, and he just didn't have the time to do it. Addition to that, he was going to engine swap it to, this is the 2.0 liter naturally aspirated engine. He wanted to put the 1.8 liter turbocharged engine in here. However, he just happened to get a smoking good deal on a vehicle with the 1.8 liter already in it, the 1.8 liter turbo. So he decided that he was going to sell this one or scrap it, and my girl's been looking for a Jetta ever since she sold hers probably about 2 years ago now. So I knew she wanted one. Figured this was a more than fairly priced one. So we grab it and see what we can do with it. Now, being that I bought it from a good friend of mine, he did ask that if I ever go to sell this, that I offer it back to him at the very least before it goes public. Not that I'm planning on ever selling this, but that was just one of the things that he requested, and I plan to absolutely respect that. But looking in here, he said he put a new battery in here. This was there. He put a new filter on it, new gas shock, new spark plugs all the way around. I believe new coil packs, new oil dipstick tube because the old one was cracked. New wires, and there was some other little odds and ends here. I think he said the crank sensor, not really sure what else honestly, but overall it's not bad. Sounds rough, idles a little rough. There's definitely some things going on there that we're gonna have to look at. We'll run the check engine codes probably in the next video and go from there. You know, start ordering parts for it, start getting all the stuff done to it, and see where it can go. Looking in the trunk, I mean, once again, from what you can see, it's a clean trunk. This is a light bar that, not my buddy, but the guy who owned the car before him had mounted, like apparently just zip tied on the front grille. So there's a good chance we'll put it back there because like the wiring and the plug and everything's still up there for it. We're just probably gonna, you know, make it look a little better. These are his tools, so those are going back to him. Not totally sure what these are. My girl would know. You got your, I want to say that's your factory amp, but there's a chance that's aftermarket. I'd have to look into it a little more to know. And then we have one sub here with a spot for another. My girl loves having subs in her car, so I figured I'm going to leave this in here. I might upgrade the actual speakers in it, but the box is a pretty good size for the trunk, and you still have some room in front. The only thing I might do is get some like grates that go over the front of the subs, because the pair she had in her previous car didn't have those. And she put something or another in the trunk, and it went through one of her speakers. So just kind of don't want to have that happen in the future. There's not much to show in this car. It's a pretty plain Jane car. Now, as for the plans for the, oh, one other thing on the interior real quick. This door panel isn't on there right because the lock cylinder here, let me see if I can do it right now with one hand. Well, there's a way you can like pull out on this and then pop it and the lock cylinder slides out. According to the previous owner, which I haven't even begun looking into that issue, it's something with a retaining clip on the backside, so get a new retaining clip, pull the door apart, and put it in. He had already diagnosed it is why the door panel's off, but he told me he just secured it on there with 2 bolts because he knew he was going to be getting back in there. And he was not daily driving this vehicle because it's got some misfire issues and, you know, power off and on as far as the engine power to the wheels and that kind of stuff. So he wasn't driving it, wasn't concerned about it, so he just let it sit for the most part as far as that issue goes. Now, I think that's pretty much everything. But for the car as a whole, our plan is to, 1, check the engine code, see what all's wrong, go from there, fix the low interior stuff, and then do a paint job on this car. Now, see, yeah, just because the door panel isn't quite there, it catches on the bottom. But the other thing I wanted to point out, he put on 2 fenders here because the old ones had rust, so our buddy just went ahead and got rid of the rust issue rather than trying to paint over it. I think what we're going to do with this car is go over it and paint it ourselves. Now, there's a couple options we're talking about. One of those is Decolation, the YouTuber that I'm good buddies with, has mentioned there's a can of, I want to say it's Rust-Oleum brand, but it's called like Boost, I believe, where it sprays really wide pattern and does a pretty good job at covering. So I'm kind of interested in taping off this whole car and just spraying it black. Or actually, it's Rust-Oleum Turbo, I believe. But just painting off the whole, or taping off the whole car, painting the whole thing Rust-Oleum Turbo black, and going from there. And then the other option would be first going over it with like a rust inhibitor, because honestly, the rust isn't that bad on this car from everything I've seen. Like, I see there's some chips with like a little bit of rust going on the hood, but I mean, the fenders are new. The doors look like they've probably been treated, but I mean, they're solid. I don't really see any signs of rust here. Maybe a little bit on the back of this door around the thing, around the trim. But overall, the car, from a rust standpoint, is really good. And even when I was up under it doing the thingamajig, CV axle. It wasn't bad from what I saw. My girl I know wants to go over it with like a Pour 15 or something similar and an air gun to give it a better rust barrier, and then I think we have to paint over top of that, but I'd have to check. And Pour 15 is what we used on her Project 4Runner, just as a way to keep it preserved for the time being while we're having it in standby and we're getting parts for it and that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens, but overall that's this car, and it's the newest, well, I cannot say it's the newest addition to the fleet. It's my newest addition to the fleet. However, Jarrett got himself a car recently that'll probably be in at least mentioned in some of our upcoming videos. He got a nice little car, so stay tuned for that. Watch it, probably I assume the next video you'll be able to see that. Enjoy it and have some fun with it, folks. So as I'm sure y'all saw in that little brief drive-by, it starts rough. Normally if you like rev it up a couple times, give it 10 seconds or so to figure itself out, I thought it drove okay. Goes in reverse great, but trying to go forward, it almost felt like the parking brake was on. So we'll have to go in there and look at it and see what that could be. Because yeah, it stalled out I think twice on me there. I don't know, you guys just saw it so you can tell me, even though I just experienced it and I can't tell you. Hopefully we'll get somewhere with it, but the plan is to just drive it as it is once we fix all the major issues with it. When the engine blows out, my girl's always wanted a 1.8 liter turbo diesel Jetta, or not a, excuse me, I think they're 2.8s. Whatever the Jetta engine was for these was one that she always wanted, so we figured we'll let it go, let it die, get the use out of it that we can, and then we'll swap in something down the road. Just kind of make it a project for now, fixing it up, and then a project down the road at whatever point it decides to die and we have to go grab the trailer and tow it off the side of the road. But that's all I got for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think we should do with this as far as what kind of paint you'd recommend and any other modifications. I mean, I know on the 2.0 platform there's not a whole lot of modifications that you can do, but if you guys have ever had a Jetta or ever know Jettas or have an idea on something you want to see done to it, let us know and I'll try to get the idea past my girl. So take care, take it easy, have a good one, folks.